Today's topic is Total Weld Solutions. My name is Kevin Sardison. I'm Director of Field Sales for Balluf Canada, and with me today, our presenter, Mr. Greg Soden. Greg is Industry Manager for Tier 1 Automotive and also the packaging industry. But I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Greg Soden. Greg?
Great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to focus on weld solutions. Total Weld Solutions is our unique value statement that we'll use as a common theme. And with that, we'll get started. In the weld space, as what is the real cost of premature sensor failures? In the weld industry, it's a very abusive environment where sensor failure rate is typically very high. And one of the areas of premature sensor failure rate will result in a lost production time to our customer, which of course is lowering their overall equipment efficiency. Also, as another penalty for premature sensor failures is unplanned maintenance costs and increase in planned maintenance costs. So if there is high frequency of premature failures, increase their maintenance resources to resolve these issues. Unplanned machine downtime and overtime. So of course, if we do have premature sensor failure rate, it may mean denote overtime and added resources to resolve these issues and get caught up on production. Indirect inventory costs. If high sensor failure rates are occurring, it may mean that our customers require to denote more resources for inventory for those high sensor failure rate products. Part quality issues are also a concern. If sensors are failing at a high rate, that may mean that the customer is having escapes and failed parts are leaching into the good quality product segment of their production. Unbudgeted expenses. That may mean if they are having a failed product leach into their customers' product base, they may have to incur unbudgeted costs such as extra transportation costs, hiring third-party inspection companies, that type of thing. And poor asset allocation with having to add more resources or more people to resolve these problems. This gives you a real kind of high-level idea as to what the real cost of premature sensor failures. So typical production costs are over $85 an hour or $85 per minute. So the cost of a high-quality sensor solution is minuscule to the cost that they're actually incurring. So for that, what we want to do is really understand what our customers' root cause of failure is. So what are some of the common failures that our customers incur? Well, heat damage is a big problem. Either ambient heat problems where the overall temperature in the general area of the sensor is hot, and localized heat damage, which you can really see in the image that's to your right-hand side. That sensor is being baked. You can see by the dark black on the bottom end of the sensor, you're having a thermal runaway problem in that case. Weld slag, weld spatter, weld berries, they're common. They're all similar in term. The first image that's in the top left-hand corner, you're seeing two proximity sensors that are being sprayed in its entirety with weld slag. The bottom you can see same type of thing, but build up on the front of the sensor head. And what weld slag will do is it will cause the sensor to prematurely turn on, and eventually the sensor will fail outright. So weld slag will create extra heat. It will cause pitting. So in the sensor in the top right-hand corner, you can see how the weld spatter has actually melted into the sensor face itself. So that will also cause premature sensor failure. So part load is where we'll also see damage occur to the sensor. So as parts are being loaded into fixtures and taken out of the fixtures, it's not uncommon for the part to strike the sensor. So we see on the right or on the left-hand side wear on the sensor face. In the center, you can see where the part is striking down onto the sensor face, and it's actually moving the sensor in the mounting bracket. It should be mounted up here, and it's moved down. It's gotten loose. So the mounting system that's in place, as well as the protection, is totally inadequate here. Here we also have sensor failure due to the part being struck. This application is a gantry where when the part is being picked up with the gantry, the sensor is actually striking the workpiece on a regular basis. So you can see both of these sensors, they're incorrectly mounted to the point where they're striking the workpiece. Connectivity will also be considered as part of the sensor system. So if there are failures in connectivity, the customer will call that a sensor failure. In this case, in this image, we're seeing weld slag affix itself to the cabling system. So it's not only that weld slag will adhere to a metal target. If you're using unprotected cabling, that will also cause damage to the sensor. Here we have an example where we have a cable. The cable solution is a straight type cable solution, but there's too much strain pulling it to the side. This should really be a right angle type of cable, as is this. But we're also seeing weld berries being stuck to the cable, and the customer here does have a protective sleeve, but that protective sleeve where the cables are being inserted into is open, essentially acting as a funnel for the weld slag to spray inside that protective sleeve and causing burn through. On this connector here, it's open, and the right angle connector is being exposed to weld slag and burn through, as is this particular image as well, right here. Mounting is integral in your overall solution, and Balluf has a whole system available to you and your customer to offer a proper system to ensure long life of your sensors. Now, if you pay attention to how your customers are mounting the sensors, it's not uncommon to see this plastic mounting cuff solution being used. So in this event, we're seeing weld slag not only stuck to an unprotected type of sensor, but it's actually burning its way through this mounting cuff. And only after a week of production, you see the degree of damage that's happened here. A little bit more burn through will cause the sensor to move, which could cause escape for inspection, or just for the sensor not to work correctly at all. Here the sensor is totally unprotected. Gobs of weld slag are adhering to the sensor, and premature failure will occur in this case. And then to the right, we have another example of a plastic mounting cuff being laden with weld slag. There are a number of misconceptions, and one of these misconceptions is that, hey, we allow our machine builder to determine what's the correct type of sensor and the correct type of mounting technique to be used by the machine builder. I think this is where we want to start educating our MRO customers that there are more secure, longer-term strategies to use, because I think we would all agree that one of the most critical points of importance from our machine builders is how much, right? They want a low-cost solution to keep their overall costs down. But if we look at what's in our best interest of our customer, it's putting in the right solution for the right application. Another misconception from the MRO standpoint is that if a sensor fails, bypass the sensor until that sensor can be replaced. That behavior is becoming less and less, and certainly in the automotive sector. In fact, people lose their jobs as a result of it. But we want to start changing that behavior and put in the right solution for the right application. A lot of us have come across vending machine solutions. Balluf does offer this as a value-add offering to our customers. We'll drive down the overall downtime by putting in the right solution for the right application. Finally, the other misconception is, hey, sensors are going to fail anyways, so let's put in the most least expensive sensor possible to keep our costs down. As we talked about earlier, the cost of downtime far and away outdoes the cost of any of the cheapest to the expensive sensor. So what we want to move towards is really getting towards determining what the root cause of the sensor failure is. And we want to engage with the customer to make practical corrective action to resolve those root cause problems. We want to understand before we make any of those corrective actions what the performance of that weld cell was, so we have a starting point. So when we do create the solution for the customer, we're able to apply metrics to show what the physical gain has been for the customer. It's not uncommon for customers to have many types of, let's say, a 12 millimeter shielded proximity sensor. If we can streamline those to one type of model number or two types of model numbers, that will really help reduce the overall inventory. So by doing this, we'll be able to identify what the cause is. Is it a mechanical damage? Is it a thermal damage? Is it the wrong sensor for that particular application? Is it incorrectly mounted? Is it being sprayed with weld slag to cause premature failure? And then from there, we can provide a report to the customer. We'll take pictures and we'll define what the problem is, and we'll make practical solutions. What we mean by that is very minimal type solutions that are highly effective. If a sensor failure occurs, maintenance is not apt to put in a lot of extra accessories to resolve the problem. They want to get the machine up and running quickly. So we want the right sensor for the right application. We want to protect the product, and we want to use the right type of cabling solutions to ensure that we're resolving the root cause of the problem. So by picking the correct type of product, we're going to increase the sensor life. For the customer, that will mean increased productivity. We'll be resisting the primary culprits such as heat damage, physical damage, weld slag. And what you'll find with many of our competitors, especially the lower cost guys, is over time, the sensing range will begin to change or drift. With Balluf, our products will maintain a constant sensing range and a constant sensor performance. These images are kind of our go-to products, from steel face sensors with the right type of protection, our prox mounts, our bunker blocks, our aluminum cuff mounts. We have new silicone jacket cable solutions. And for our optical sensors, we have separate type of optic protection accessories so that it would be more sustainable in a weld type environment. So let's look at some of these products, in a little bit more depth. The steel face PTFE coated sensor is kind of our go-to prox in the weld space. PTFE is also a term for Teflon, a Teflon coated prox. Our steel face sensors are a single piece housing, stand a high abusive environment. They are 2 times nominal sensing range, so they have a little bit added range than the normal type proc. They're available in 3-wire DC PNP, and Balluf has the thickest face, the steel face sensors on the market today. and they're IP67 rated. We also have now, we've recently introduced what Balluf refers to as our W51 steel face sensor. It's a new patented ceramic and Teflon type of housing, extremely robust in a weld environment. In fact, that's what it was developed for. Also available in 3-wire DC. The product comes with a pigtail cable with an M12 connector on it, but the cable it has added protection with a silicone tubing in it, and the cable connector has a built-in LED. That way the LED is not mounted in the same area as the abusive environment is, so that the actual LED would be on a connector near the back. Here we're seeing this particular product that it's mounted in a weld cell. It's currently sprayed with slag after one shift of production, and now we're seeing it here cleaned, and that was simply cleaned by running one's finger over top of that sensor face. Weld slag, if you've ever touched it, it actually bonds to another metal target, and our customers commonly use dry ice. They blast their capital equipment with dry ice to clean that. So to be able to wipe it off with your finger is quite revolutionary. Another product to use as your overall weld solution kit is our prox mounts. So our prox mounts that you would use with our steel face, there would be a steel PTFE coated mount. And what you're able to do with the prox mount is you're able to slide the sensor into that device and tighten it by a quarter turn on this lock nut. And if the sensor needed to be changed, you would just simply undo this by a quarter turn, slide out the sensor, and slide another one in. There's a beveled end here. So what this will do is this will ensure that the proximity sensor cannot be overextended in the workpiece, where the sensor would then begin to be struck. This is a common problem in manufacturing, where the operator puts in a new sensor and overextends it. Because inside the prox mount it's smooth, there's a slight air gap. That'll act as a thermal barrier to help protect that sensor from high thermal shock. Because that is a steel type of mounting on the prox mount, it will also add another layer of mechanical protection to the sensor body. Now, these prox mounts, they're not just only designed for the use of inductive proxes, they can also be used with our cylindrical photoelectric sensors. So that can ensure rapid quick change, proper mounting, so that they don't have to remount it and provide the extra mechanical protection. We talked a little bit earlier about our new aluminum mounting cuffs. You've seen before the damage that was occurring on the plastic mounting cuffs, so this is our answer to that. We have them in 12, 18, and 30 millimeter. Aluminum repels weld slag, so this would be a much more suitable product where a customer would like to have a cuff mount type mounting system. Our bunker blocks are manufactured out of machined aluminum material. Aluminum, as mentioned earlier, repels weld slag. They'll act as a heat sink, so they'll provide another layer of protection against thermal damage. Certainly, they're excellent for mechanical protection, and they will hold the M8 up to the M30 prox mounts. And they also have an end stop here, so you cannot overextend the prox mount. Cover nuts, these are cover nuts for our cylindrical photoelectrics. So they'll provide added protection in a weld environment. The lenses are glass, so they won't be as susceptible as, let's say, plastic lenses for pitting. There's also an O-ring inside the cover nut, and that will help keep smoke and other environmental contaminants away from the inside lens. If and when that lens gets damaged, you simply unscrew it and put another one on, It means that the sensor doesn't have to be disconnected, or sensitivity doesn't have to be readjusted for the new replacement device. Our new BOS 23K and 25K also have a separate lens mounting system. Same idea. Instead of having to replace the entire sensor, you simply replace the lens as it becomes damaged. It ensures that the customer moves quicker to getting back up into production. We talked a little earlier about our new cable solutions. We're very proud of these new cables that have recently been released. The Silicone jacket cable is a new cable cord set that we have, where the actual cord set is silicone jacket material itself. So there's no tubing that goes over this. It's the jacket material itself is made out of silicone. They're very suited to high weld slag environment and high temperature. They're rated up to 200 degrees C. Under that, there are a new silicone tube that we have with the overmolding encapsulating the tubing. Now this would be used perhaps where there's more high flex environment. For high flex, we would probably use this. Otherwise, we'll default to this silicone jacket cable. In each case, our overmolding is a patented material that we worked on with chemical company BASF. It's highly protected against high temperature and weld slag. And the nuts are also, they're metal nuts, but they're PTFE or Teflon coated to help repel the weld slag. The cable at the bottom is also repellent against weld slag, but it's made out of Teflon. The jacket is made out of Teflon, and that would be used in environments where your customer would be forbidding the use of silicone. Silicone can cause contamination on a workpiece that could cause problems in paint. There's not too many of those customers around, but if you did, where silicone is forbidden, you have the option of providing this PTFE jacket cable. You may have heard to a sacrificial cord set solution. In this case, here we have an exploded view of a total weld solution of our proximity sensors with our bunker block, our PTFE steel face or steel prox mount, our PTFE steel face prox, and here we have our silicone jacket sacrificial cable. Typically the cable is less than 1 meter in length, and that cable would be put in the most abusive area where weld slag or mechanical damage would occur. So if this cable did fail, the customer is simply replacing a very short length rather than, let's say, a 10-meter length back to the panel or to an on-machine block. This means that the customer can resolve the problem much quicker and get their machine up and running in a much faster format. Other products that we have are our jackets, our weld repelled jackets, where we could slide in other existing cables, or perhaps a pneumatic line we could slide into here. We have our weld repel tape. It can be used to fix to the other device that's going in here to close up that opening. And then we have area wrap that can be used to protect other sensitive devices in a weld environment. In this case, we're showing a customer has a series of cylinder sensors, 2 different applications. Both cases are in weld environments. Here the customer has put some protective sleeving in place, but notice that this is open here and the weld slag is falling into this hole and causing burn through. In this case, we have burn through that's occurring here on these cables. So Balluf has recently launched a new solution where we have silicone sleeving on our BMF cylinder sensors. So this is a unique offering. It's certainly a product differential that no one else has to the best of our knowledge. It's a great business opportunity for you to be selling into customers that are doing weld. Another example here, we have a customer that has experienced heavy impact damage. We are continually designing new mounting solutions to help protect our customer assets. We just want to show that Balluf is continually looking at other means of providing more value to our customers. Networking, we just want to kind of re-emphasize that Balluf have a very robust networking solution offering to our customers. In this case, we're showing networking solutions where the customer has thrown an on-machine block into a pit filled with cutting fluids and metal flakes, and they've purposely left open protective caps. Now that was left there for 6 months, and the product worked perfectly since the time it was installed. Down here we have an example where a customer has placed our on-machine block into a bucket of dry ice for a 12 period. You can see it's totally covered in frost, and the product is working fine. So we just want to give some confidence to you that you can in turn help communicate to your customers that Balluf has a very robust product offering in networking.